You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 95, When It Gets Too Hard. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm so happy you're here with me today. You are amazing. Thank you for being someone who cares about her future health and ability to show up powerfully in the world. How's the cancer avoidance going? That's a weird question. I hope it's useful to know that there is a common denominator among all cancers and that there's actually a lot more you can do than just hope for the best. If you want to dive deeper into alternative treatments, did you download your book list at healthcourage.ck.page/cancer? It's fascinating. Today, we're going to talk about when it all gets too hard. We all get that way sometimes. It's too much. It's too hard. It's too overwhelming. What do you tend to do when that happens? Do you shut down? Avoid it all? Look for distractions? Spiral down? Act like an inferior version of yourself? This can happen to all areas of life, but especially when we're committed to making long-term improvements to our health. I have 8 ideas that I think will help you soldier on and spiral up rather than down next time it's just too much. I'm hoping that the next time you start slipping into feeling like you're drowning, you can remember one of these 8 things and use it to both feel better in the moment and prevent that recovery period that slows down your momentum. You know, when you have to sort of clean up all the chaos that you let take over and recommit and restart. Okay, so idea number 1 is to expect bad days. I think there's a lot of power in knowing that no matter how committed and excited you are to reducing simple carbs and going to bed at 10:15 and getting 8,000 steps a day or drinking vinegar or whatever it is for you, there are going to be days when those things become exceptionally hard to do. Sometimes you're going to feel sad or have a headache or be completely unmotivated. You'll discover that you have absolutely no healthy food in your house. It's raining outside, or a new season of Wednesday was just released. That probably won't be till 2024, sadly. Knowing on your good days that it will get dark again helps you to not be taken by surprise when it does. Not because there's something wrong or something wrong with you, but just because that's the way life goes. Instead of being shocked and horrified and thrown for a loop, or worse, thinking that you are somehow flawed and that you could have or should have done things better so this didn't happen, you can just be like, yep, here's one. We talked about this in episode 60. Golfers expect a certain number of bad putts so that when they hit one, they don't go crazy. They just say, yep, there's one. It makes it #NBD and also helps them know that because they got that one out of the way, they can expect that more good shots are on the way. Expecting a few misfires and less than stellar days can help you to not be so thrown off, not to stay down as long, and to use it as an opportunity to just keep moving forward because you expected it, you planned for it, and you know it's going to pass. If you have an amazing plan that you're excited about that will help you age in a way that will keep your biological age younger than your chronological age, that's awesome. I'm thrilled for you. You might have a list of daily do's and don'ts, habits to track, and a vision for inspiring success. That brings us to idea number 2. All of those high standards are awesome, and I want them for you too. But if you can't stick to them when life gets hard, they're not right for you right now. You want your daily plan and habits, your protocol, if you will, to be bespoke, completely unique and tailored specifically to you. If your daily checklist of awesome things that will help you stay healthy and strong is too hard to do on a bad day, it needs to go. It's not properly designed if, when a hard day comes along, as it inevitably will, it becomes impossible to execute your plan. Then it's time for a new plan. I'd love to help you do this. In the Health Courage Collective, we will get you to 100% success on executing your top objectives. We, meaning you and me. It's so fun to be able to trust yourself that way. But anyway, the way you do that is to make your few daily musts tiny enough that you can do them even on your worst day. Tony Robbins says that the lowest standard you can hold yourself to is perfection. Those great, inspiring plans to meditate for an hour every day and never eat a single gram of sugar, to take an ice-cold shower and 5 one-mile-long walks per day, to lift weights for 2 hours and fast for 23 hours, those are all awesome, and some people do them, but you need to start with what you're actually able to do on your worst day. When installing a habit and changing who you are, the consistency matters way more than the magnitude. It's okay to do more on the days that you feel great, but knowing your minimum baseline and knowing you can do it on your worst day gives you power. It's okay to suck, but it's not okay to skip. Hey, I just wanted to quickly interrupt and say good for you for being here listening to a podcast about improving your biological age relative to your chronological age. Have you ever thought about slowing the biological aging of your skin? If you heard my episode 55 about senescent cells, then you know that the accumulation of these undead cells accelerates all of the problems of aging. Well, now there's a topical supplement you can put on your skin that reduces the accumulation of senescent cells in your skin. This reduces wrinkles, but also all other skin conditions caused by thinner, weaker, drier skin. It also reduces the formation of age spots and increases collagen and hyaluronic acid production within your skin. It's a peptide called OS01, and it's in a product called OneSkin. I use it every day on my face and neck, and I've noticed a big difference. I would say my skin is more moisturized, but that's not a good enough description because it's not like when you put moisturizer on, but your skin is still dry underneath. It's the exact opposite. The topical supplement isn't greasy at all, but my skin is plumper and healthier from the inside out. I'm a big fan. If OneSkin sounds like something you'd like to try, there's a link in the show notes to get you $20 off. All right, back to the episode. Okay, idea number 3 is super powerful for when you're really overwhelmed. Not just a run-of-the-mill bad day, but things are really extreme. I don't remember for sure, but I think I first heard this in a church magazine story or something. There was a mom of a bunch of little kids whose husband just unexpectedly died. She was understandably almost non-functional, consumed with worry about how to be a single mom to a bunch of little kids, how to financially support the family all by herself, how to feel emotionally supported without her best friend, how to move toward the future at all. Would she be able to afford to keep the house? What about when her kids got to high school age? She prayed to God to ask what she should do, and the answer came: make breakfast. I love that story, and I've always remembered it for some reason. One of my coaches, Jody Moore, teaches the same concept, as do several other teachers. There's a crazy story of a Navy SEAL named Marcus Luttrell who was on a SEAL mission in Afghanistan and was shot 11 times, broke his back, broke his pelvis, broke his nose, blew out both of his knees, and bit off a piece of his tongue. And he needed to travel 7 miles to the nearest village to have any chance of survival. That's insane. I had a crick in my neck last week, I guess from sleeping on my pillow wrong, and I was pretty much non-operational that day. It was horrible, but just like Marcus Luttrell, I got through it. I'm pretty much a Navy SEAL. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that much pain. The way Marcus survived wasn't to think positively or negatively. It definitely wasn't to map out a game plan of how to make it 7 miles in that condition. He didn't evaluate the situation. He didn't calculate his odds or just assume that everything would work out. That was all way too much. The way he survived was he picked up a rock and drew a line in the dirt. His only thought was, I am capable of crawling to this line. Then once he did, he drew another line, and his singular focus was to crawl to that line. He did that for 7 miles, and he lived to tell the tale. Jody Moore calls this zooming in. When everything's fine, it's awesome to zoom way out like bird's eye view and plan your life decades into the future. That's what I'm all about, if you haven't figured that out. Planning and acting in a way now that sets you up for physiological success when you're in your 80s and 90s. It's great. It's awesome. I want you to do it. But if you're in crisis mode, maybe you just got a frightening diagnosis or you had some kind of catastrophic event happen. Being zoomed out is too much. When you're under attack, you need to zoom in. You just make breakfast. You just crawl to the next line in the dirt. You ignore the big picture and go Anna from Frozen and just take the next right step. When you're overwhelmed and overwrought, you don't need to know the overarching battle plan or what all the steps are. You just need to know that you're capable of crawling to the next line in the dirt. Zoom in. All right, idea number 4 is to know what to do when you're out of the boat. This comes from the book The Art of Possibility by Benjamin and Rosamund Zander. Rosamund tells a story about going on a river rafting trip where her guide kept saying that if you get flipped out of the boat, all you need to know is toes to nose. Toes to nose, toes to nose. She said he kept harping on it so many times that she was like, okay, enough already. But then she got flipped out of the boat, and when she found herself terrified, underwater, thrashing around, not knowing which way was up, she remembered toes to nose. And once she did that, she found her way back to the surface and the safety of the boat. She says, since this experience, I have used the metaphor out of the boat with many people in many different situations. It signifies more than being off track. It means you don't know where the track even is anymore. Out of the boat could refer to something as simple as losing all memory of ever having been on an exercise program. Or it could refer to floundering in the wake of a management shakeup. When you're out of the boat, you cannot think your way back in. You have no point of reference. You must call on something that has been established in advance, a catchphrase like toes to nose, end quote. I like that. Being out of the boat is not just being off track, it's not knowing where the track is anymore, and you can't think your way back into the boat because you're thrashing around with no point of reference. So you need to know ahead of time what being out of the boat means to you and what you need to do to get back to safety. This requires some forethought, but that's time well spent in my opinion. Being out of the boat could be anything that matters to you, but if you're wanting to create an intelligent personal plan to age in an abnormal way that allows you to sidestep the typical normal diseases of aging, you might want to have metric triggers like realizing you sit for hours at a time, you don't get more than 6,000 steps a day, eat 100 grams of sugar a day, or only spend 6 hours in bed at night. Or maybe it could be based on how you feel. If you don't have enough energy to get to the end of the day, that's an addressable problem. Or if you can't get along for half a day without a sugary treat, you're winded after a couple of flights of stairs, or you can't pick up something heavy that you used to could, those could be signs. Something that triggers the alarm that you've lost your way and a predetermined response that will help you find your way back. Toes to nose. 8 hours and 15 minutes in bed every night. No sugary or sweet anythings until after 2 o'clock p.m. An actual kitchen timer that tells you to stand up every 20 minutes. Whatever. Those are some of mine that I employ. You'll figure out yours, but the awesome thing about having protocols is that you can tell when you've wandered off course and you know where to go back to. Idea number 5 for when it's all too much is to control the controllables. When we're spinning out and feeling swept away, there are some things that are just beyond our control. Spending all of our effort trying to control things that we can't actually control is an exercise in futility. We can't control what other people think. We can rarely control what they do. We can't control the weather or the price of things. We can't change the past. When we feel frustrated with the swirl of things we can't control, there always is something that we can. If we focus on those things, we'll make a lot more progress. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus are very big on this idea. Some things are just not within your control, but some things are. When you're stressed, focus on the things that are, like your will, your opinion, your goals, your aversions, your grief, your joy, and your attitude. It's even part of the serenity prayer that they say at Alcoholics Anonymous. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We can't control whether we get a certain diagnosis or symptom after we already have it, but there are always things that we can control. We can control what time we get in bed at night. We can control what we put on our plate. We can control what kind of oil we cook with. We can control our opinion of what it means to get older. When we're overwhelmed, we can control our field of view and zoom in. There is always something we can control. Focusing on that and forgetting the rest gives us leverage. So does focusing on the process rather than the outcome. Once you've come to a decent enough guess as to what process is most likely to get you the result you want, focus on that process rather than the outcome. There's a great story about a professional golfer who was working with Lanny Basham as his mental toughness coach. He was struggling, so Lanny told him to stop thinking about winning tournaments and to put all of his attention on the process of playing well. They identified the steps to making a good shot. I've never golfed, so I'm not even sure what those would be, but say lining up the shot, taking a full breath, aligning your hips and ankles as you swing. I really have no idea. But he relentlessly focused on those things, and he started doing way better. One time he went through his process with the same calmness that he always did, and he made the putt. His partner shook his hand, and then he saw his wife running out onto the golf green, cheering. Confused, he asked, "Did I win?" Yeah, he did. He focused on the process for that shot just like all the rest, but it was the one that won him the tournament and $1 million. And he didn't even know. I think that's awesome. The thought of winning the tournament wasn't even there to overwhelm him because all he was thinking about was the steps to execute a good putt. He was controlling the controllables and also zooming in. Idea number 6 is to get more serious about the most important component of behavior design when things are hard. Do you remember what it is? Bonus points if you do. I wish I could give you a high five. Imagine one of those exploding confetti animated emoji thingies. Phew, yay for you. The most important part of behavior design, go back and listen to episode 93 from 2 weeks ago if you forgot, is as important as mindfulness or gratitude. It's celebration. When you're having a hard time and you do anything right, you have to celebrate like you mean it. My teenager is making choices that will make her life harder. I just found out that I owe a lot of money to the IRS and my water main is leaking. And I'm still listening to a podcast about up-leveling my health anyway. Yes, that's like me. I logged some of the food I ate today. I rock! I parked 5 spaces farther away than I had to, and I got 15 extra steps in. I'm amazing. I put my workout clothes on today. I'm the best. This really works well with knowing your minimum baseline. If you're installing a habit of more non-exercise movement and your tiny habit is to at least walk to the mailbox, and then you do that on a really bad day, you need to celebrate like you just won a marathon. Never feel bad about not doing more. Do the minimum and celebrate keeping your word because that's like you. Celebrate with enthusiasm. Hoot and holler, jump around, put on Kool in the Gang. Da 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 da. Woo woo. Forcing yourself to celebrate even when you aren't really feeling it makes you feel better. Kind of like fake laughing makes you a little bit happier against your will. And it reinforces your abilities and your awesomeness. It subconsciously makes you want to do it again. Okay, I debated whether to include this idea number 7 because it's only useful in some overwhelming situations, but here it goes. This is really helpful for me when I'm stuck on feeling self-conscious, which is a lot of the time. So if the thing that is too much for you is like giving a speech or having to go talk to someone who makes you nervous, calling attention to yourself in some way, worrying that someone thinks you're weird, or being in the spotlight for some reason. You can overcome that deluge by making it about the other person rather than about you. It's not about you. It's about them. If you're feeling like it's too much, but you're 100% focused on what makes the other person interesting, what the audience has maybe never heard before, or what you could do to make someone else look good, it really helps you feel like there's something you can hang on to. It's not about you. You are a humble servant. It's about them, and that's not too hard or too much. It can also be helpful when things are hard and you remember that you have a bigger purpose to serve, like staying healthy for your future grandchildren, prioritizing sleep so you're more able to be kind to the disabled youth you serve, or lifting weights so you're capable of carrying someone else's bug-out bag during the zombie apocalypse. Because it's not about you. Lastly, we have idea number 8. This is probably my favorite concept in the entire world. It's mind-blowingly good. I think I've mentioned it in the past, and we're going to talk more about it again in a couple of weeks in episode 100. It's not really a coping strategy to get through overwhelm, but if you can train yourself to do it when life gets hard, you'll become invincible. Seriously. Move over, Wonder Woman. This is way better than the bracelets of submission. I just learned the names of those. But I did know that she could use them to deflect all kinds of incoming attacks. Bullets, arrows, energy blasts. She's impervious. But what if, instead of defending against damage, you had bracelets that could absorb and give you that energy, and those attacks made you even stronger? That's what idea number 8 is. The worse you feel, the more committed you are to your protocol. And remember that your protocol can be like one air squat or one peaceful breath. It can be tiny at first. But if you can feel that when the crap hits the fan, that's your trigger to double down on the intensity of your commitment to your healthy behaviors, you become unstoppable. Like Sia, a Porsche with no brakes. You don't need batteries to play. You're so confident. You're unstoppable today. It's natural and normal to want to, air quote, give ourselves a break when things get hard, to loosen up and let things slide. Life is too much. We can't adult today, whatever. We rationalize the opportunity to backslide and do things that we think feel good right now, but sabotage our future. We feel justified, and we probably are, honestly, but what if the triggers for those spirals down catapulted us up instead? They can. It's freaking amazing, you guys. If you use feeling bad as a trigger to get even more serious about not missing the items you have on your plan to age like a professional, you're not even playing in the same league anymore. I am not perfect at this, but I've done it enough to notice when I feel on the verge of letting something slide and to sometimes catch it and use it as an opportunity to Wonder Woman it into the energy I need to just do the thing I've already committed to doing. And guess what? Knowing that I'm someone who I can count on feels way better than blowing it off to watch TV or eat a cookie or paint my nails. And it usually takes next to no time at all, so I can still do those other things too. This is huge. Life is hard, and when you're going through something tough, you deserve more awesomeness and benefits, not a pile of empty disappointments that it takes days to crawl out of. It feels hard to do for about 5 seconds, but the more you do it, the more you recognize the opportunity to do it, and the easier it gets. Then your lows get higher, and you slowly spiral up. It's magic, I'm telling you. So I hope these 8 ideas plant a little seed of an idea in your mind that might help you the next time things feel too hard. You have options. First, expect bad days. Don't be surprised by them when they show up. Know that they'll pass. Second, go tiny, especially when you're first installing a habit. It's about fierce commitment to the consistency, not completing some kind of crazy feat of strength. Third, zoom in and collapse time to just crawling to the next line in the dirt. That's all you have to do right now. Fourth, know what to do when you're out of the boat. Recognize what being out of the boat even means and what tiny thing you need to do to come back up to the surface. Fifth, control the controllables. If you're stressed out about something that's not even within your control, let it go and only focus on controlling something that you do have power over. This will give you a lot of peace. Sixth, when things are hard, make celebrating your number one priority. Celebrate every tiny thing you're able to do while things are hard. You rock. Seventh is to make it about other people, not about you, especially if you're feeling nervous or embarrassed. And lastly, slowly and in tiny ways, train yourself to feel yourself becoming more committed to your protocol the worse you feel. Feeling low is a trigger to double down on your protocol. As always, if it's time and you're ready to design an intelligent and personal plan to age like a professional and could use some support and accountability implementing any of these strategies, I'm here to help you spiral up with a community of like-minded women so that we're all physiologically capable of living and giving more the older and wiser we get. Visit my website at healthcouragecollective.com. You are awesome. Next week, we're going to talk about cooking. Yay! Well, the oil you use to cook with. Until then, deploy a strategy to help you come out of a hard time stronger than before. And don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.